Howdy folks, Nathan Atlin here with
Andrei Smirnov.
and we have yet another top 5 for you guys.
And I'm excited about this because the top 5 cheap speed cars. So affordable performance cars.
That we found on Craigslist. Now the reason we're using Craigslist, look, they're not paying us, I wish they were, but it's because it's a free medium that you guys can use. You can sell your cars there for free and you can go and look for free and find cars to buy. And it's just a really easy one because it's nationwide. And frankly speaking, I was able to find these cars and they are very cool.
And they're for sale as of this taping.
Yeah.
You can find these cars.
That's right, the majorities are available in California. So let's get started.
Number 5, I'm really excited about because whenever I see one on the street, it sounds amazing. And this is a 2001 Mustang SVT Cobra. And this is a convertible for under $10,000.
$9,999. Yeah. Most of these, by the way, are under $10,000. Most of these.
Yeah.
Now, a couple things you guys should know. Now, this particular year, these years of the SVT Cobra, independent rear suspension. Also, aluminum block. And this vehicle puts out, 320 horsepower and 317 pound-feet of torque. And it's a convertible, and it's not a very heavy vehicle. So when you go to Cars and Coffee in one of these cars, you will hit a tree or a pedestrian when you accelerate hard.
Yes. Of course, the convertible, I think it might be my preference because I don't go to the racetrack very often. And I want to, have the top-down experience.
And blowing through your hair.
And listening to the V8. But if you're taking it to the track, cheap speed, get the coupe.
Get the coupe. It's a much more solid platform. Okay, let's move on to number 4. And number 4 is an interesting one because Andre has some personal experience with these.
Yep. It's the 2006, in this case, Chevy Cobalt SS supercharged.
This vehicle, which doesn't put out as much as the later ones, this one puts out 205 horsepower and 200 pound-feet of torque, which is pretty good.
Yeah. But my experience with this car, the Cobalt SS, my dad actually owns a turbocharged version of the Cobalt 2009, and we did a video on the Fast Lane car as a modern collectible.
A while ago, too.
Yeah, that was a few years back.
Yeah.
So you can check it out online.
And that was a much more powerful engine. However, there are a lot of guys with Stage 2 and Stage 3 kits with the supercharged engine that were able to get out as much, if not more, power than the turbocharged engine. Of course, they probably had emissions issues.
And this car is under $4,000, $3,950. So if you're looking for an inexpensive car that's quick and looks pretty good, this is one of them. Of course, there are many issues that come with buying a used car, right?
Especially one that has basically a turbocharged engine running to the front wheels and probably some fairly young individual who's decided to add stiffer suspension, beefier tires, possibly some exhaust and blah, blah, blah. And it's probably had a fairly hard life. So you really need to look at cars like this before you buy them because let's face it, man, if it were me and I were a young guy, and I had one of these cars, I'd drive the hell out of it. Oh my God, I would just be in it all the time. So anyway, let's move on.
But used car buying is a whole other list.
That is an entirely different list.
This is all about cheap speed. Number 3 on the list is a 1995 Mitsubishi 3000 GT VR4.
Yes!
And this was like tour de force of technology and speed for the 90s.
We're talking about just about everything you could possibly want in a car in terms of performance. All-wheel drive, all-wheel steering. It had
turbocharging.
Twin turbocharged V6. It was a 3-liter. It had bodywork that would move. It had, a tail that would move. It just did everything. I actually have some experience with this. I had a friend who had a GT, just the regular GT, and I loved it. I got my hands on an old Dodge Stealth, and it was basically a shell, and then I got some components off of a 3000 GT VR4 and tried to slap it on there, and it really didn't work. But I wanted it to because I had driven that car before. They're so fast, and there's so much technology. Highly recommended car. However, if you do what I did, please make sure the ABS works. It's really important. Now, this one puts out 320 horsepower and 315 pound-feet of torque. And once again, going to all 4 wheels, manual, transmission, unless you get the convertible, which actually was an automatic, which is the only automatic available for quite some time on that car.
And they were made for many years, actually.
For a long time,
and, some of them had those humongous wings later on, right?
Yeah, well, they had big wings that came in. Also had a hardtop convertible version. And then I think they really messed it up looks-wise, and they tried to make the headlights like not the pop-up ones, which look good, but these weird plastic things that covered projectors. It just didn't look very good at all. Anyway, this one is for $15,000, low mileage example, and it's in really good shape. This is the one we saw on Craigslist, so look around for it. I believe it's in California.
This is the most expensive car on this list, but
It is.
for what it is, it's probably worth.
I mean, it could still hold a candle to an awful lot of performance cars out there. So let's move on, please, to
Number 2.
yeah.
But we're switching gears here.
Ooh,
This is not a high horsepower car, is
not
it?
at all.
But it's the 1974 Porsche 914, and this one particular one, it has 80,000 miles
Which is nothing.
for $6,700.
Now, keep in mind that this is the Targa version, which has the 1.8 liter fuel-injected engine, not the carbureted one. Even though it only has 80 horsepower and I think, what do we put?
84 horsepower.
84 horsepower and 102 pound-feet of torque. It's also a vehicle that basically is a ton. And in terms of performance, many race car drivers will agree with me that this is one of the best vehicles you can get out and learn on a racetrack how to properly drive a rear or mid-engine vehicle. It is fantastic and very responsive, and in this case, extremely cheap.
Yeah, my friend who is a race car instructor owns 2 of these. And also, a lot of people modify these cars
Oh, yeah.
for racing, like making proper race cars out of them and stuffing V8s in there.
Oh, I've heard of that. Yeah, V8s or twin turbocharged, horizontally opposed 6-cylinder engines, and or whatever they can get their hands on. It's a really flexible platform, and there's a huge history with this vehicle going between Volkswagen and Porsche. We don't have time to get into that, but it is definitely something if you're interested in doing racing or canyon carving. It's a worthwhile car, and it's entirely too dangerous for anybody who's related to me. So if you're related to me, don't buy one. But they're good anyway. Okay, let's move on.
Number one.
Yeah.
Number 1 is a 2003 Dodge Neon SRT4. And this one has fairly low miles, 87,000 miles, for $7,500.
Now, bear in mind that this is the last year before they did the big bump up in power. So this one has 215 horsepower and 245 pound-feet of torque, and they boosted that significantly in 2004. I believe it went up to 230 horsepower and 250 pound-feet of torque. There are so many kits out there for this vehicle. There are stage 1, 2, and 3 kits. There are suspension kits. There's everything out there. It's a very easy car to modify by terms of going online and finding the parts and actually shoving them on there.
And I think every SRT4 Neon I've seen has been modified on the street.
Man.
Some of them have gigantic exhaust pipes, right?
Triple wings, lowered to the ground.
So this particular one did have some modifications that
Just
we
a
found.
few, yeah.
Maybe the cold air intake and some wheels and stuff.
There was also quite a bit of suspension tweaks and also some tweaks to the transmission itself. Once again, cars like these, boy racers tend to beat the hell out of them. So definitely drive it, check it out, make sure you can take it to a mechanic and have them look at it as well. But still, that's a really good price for a vehicle that only has 80,000 miles on it and was built in 03.
Yeah, and this is all about, affordable speed, and
Yep.
I think this car has it.
It really does. And a lot of you guys have mentioned on several of the Craigslist things that we've done or other things that we've done, this vehicle specifically. And you're absolutely right. It is something we've left out and we shouldn't have left out. It's a really fast car. Once again, very dangerous, but a lot of fun to drive.
There's a bonus.
There is a bonus.
We have a series on tflcar.com which is called Modern Collectibles.
Yep.
And what we've done with this series is, cars from the last 10 years or so, or 12 years, that will be collectible in the future.
Right.
And this car is on this list.
Rightfully so.
This is a 2007 Dodge Magnum SRT8. And some of the criteria for a modern collectible has to be powerful,
Yep.
desirable, and not very many of them were built. So this car, is on the cusp of that criteria.
Well, it's really hard to find these things for sale without somebody slamming them into the ground or slamming them into a tree. This one put out 425 horsepower and 420 pound-feet of torque through a 6.1 liter Hemi.
Yes. It's basically a family vehicle because it's a gigantic
Wagon.
car, it's
Yeah.
a wagon, it has utility.
Yes, it does.
So you can say, honey, this is a really good car. It holds a lot of space. But it's also really fast.
Fast as crazy hell.
Yeah.
The thing is, and this is the one unfortunate part, is that they never had a manual version of that car. If they did, I would have sold one of my legs to get one. But it still was a very fast car, and for its time, it handled beautifully. I've driven them before. It's actually one of the earliest cars that I reviewed. And this particular one, which is an '07, is $11,000. That's not bad. And it didn't have crazy miles, did it? Yeah,
No, this one was a kind of a high mileage
was
car.
it? Oh yeah, that's right. It was.
But it's really rare. I mean, I don't remember last time I've seen one on the street. You know,
It's a good
have
point.
you?
No,
I mean,
the last
these-
time I saw one was actually in another state, in Nevada. I haven't seen one.
These
in
are
Colorado.
rare cars, and obviously really cool cars as well.
Speaking of rare, it's rare that we have a chance to pitch our book, Truck Nuts.
Truck
but
Nuts.
This is one of the main authors right here, Andre, and Mr. Kent also wrote a majority of this book. I had a little something to do with it. But the most important part is that this is now for sale.
Yeah, it's for sale. Thank you for writing the chapter on your experiences with trucks. Of course, Mr. Truck, Ken Sunling, has a lifetime of experience
He really
with
does.
trucks. And this is a truck guide. So we have some data in here, but it's not a spreadsheet. It actually has some stories about safety, about choosing the right truck, new or used, diesel versus gas. It's available, and there's a link. You could probably click somewhere here next to Nathan, where you can buy it on Amazon, Barnes & Noble. Just go to the link.
Please buy the book so we can actually afford to buy Andre a brand new boat. For the Fastlane Car, this is Nathan Adlin.
And Andre.
Don't forget to go to tflcar.com for news, views, real world reviews, and more top fives. Guys, if you have more to add to this, please write it down below. We'll see you later.
Thanks.